Hi everyone. So in this presentation, we're going to talk about what a team contract is. So how many of you have seen the first Avengers movie? I know it was a long time ago, or pretty much any of the Avenger films and most superhero team up films in general. Well, the film was basically about a set of superheroes that were brought together by Nick Fury to serve together as a team. If you remember, much of the film was not them fighting the invasion or even Loki. Much of the film was the conflict amongst each other. They had a lot of trouble working together. All very smart people. Many of them had worked just fine with previous teams, even. It took a tragic turning point for them to start working together. Well, instead of having a tearjerker, you can have a team contract. Therefore, why do I ask you to make a team contract? So that you have a functioning team. So these are centered on Tuckman's stages of group development: forming, storming, norming, and performing. Hashing out assumptions and preferences means you have a more contained storming period. So the team contract is a contract signed by each team member, a plan for how the team will work. Within the contract, your team lays out the expectations and processes by which your team will operate. The idea is that working in groups can be tough. For any team, there's often a stage where things are very uncertain. You're trying to learn each other's strengths, weaknesses, preferences, norms, and so on. Rather than leaving yourself open to conflict or hurt feelings, new teams especially can try to go straight to it and try to discuss these things from the start. So these are everything from what counts as late to meetings, or what roles should be rotated, and what are the procedures if there is something wrong. So big idea, it lays out the expectations and processes which will guide your team. So this is what tends to go into team contracts. So you tend to put things like goals. What are your goals? So they should be ideally clear and measurable. And for example, an A on the project, becoming friends, draft by this date, everything done 1 week before the session is over. Specific is good. Next is climate. What kind of group environment do you want? Get it done, minimal small talk, open communication. Of course, abide by academic policy. That should be in everyone's. So recommendation, you should have a mix, an open and respectful environment, but commitment at the same time. Others, roles and activities. What activities and roles may be useful to the team? What is the timeline? So for example, what kind of contingency plans do you have? What types of activities? Are you going to rotate roles or jobs? Person A will be the meeting recorder for each meeting. The role of meeting leader will rotate each member to each member according to ABC order, however you want. For example, some teams agree that somebody should make brownies, for example, for meetings, or that a person who is late to the meeting must do a silly dance. I don't know. This is all up to your team. So as a note, for working together, remember to integrate your work. The idea is not to just divide up tasks where only one person is doing one part and has no hand in the other tasks. One can tell when each person contributed a paragraph and then the team copied and pasted them together one after the other. And it also, if someone gets sick, someone gets hurt, someone just has to drop the class, you don't want to be left at risk. Next is interpersonal behavior. How do we want to interact with each other? What are the unwritten expectations of the group? So for example, participate fully, respect others, listen to ideas, listen before replying, email, use an agenda, what counts as good quality, what is late, what will be used for communication, what counts as jumping in, all that good stuff. So for example, if a person objects to another teammate's quality, this is what she needs to do, and this is how we will proceed. What counts again as late? When we mean meeting every Tuesday night, what do we mean? So for example, I was part of a class where half the team felt like they were doing everything because the other half had shoddy work. The other half, however, did not know this and could not understand why the other half was being so cold. The angry half then came to us and said they want to split off and be their own team, start their own product. There were a lot of tears before it got straightened out, and both halves started communicating better. Good news is that they did pull it off and did a fantastic job during the latter half of the class. But that was a pretty terrifying storming period. And as I said, if we need to, we can talk about it, but team members can leave or team members can eject people. So let's try to make sure we keep that organized before anything happens. Ideas to consider. This is from Professor Stephen Bayes of Davenport. Things like you might want to consider skills and experience inventory. So what are people's strengths and areas for development? Things, again, team goals. How will we communicate? What are our meeting times? Using what? What tools or software will we use? Don't just copy and paste something. One time I had a group where they said, we're going to have our team meetings, and it was smack dab in the middle of the class, and I said, did you actually intend this? What tools or software will we use? That kind of thing. And what will be your turnaround time? How close to the deadline? Are there internal deadlines or expected buffer when items are combined? Who should do final edits? Who collects the items? So these are all things that, while we may not always see more formal team contracts, we see this a lot in terms of things like codes of conduct and things like just general project management and organization. More ideas to consider. How do we make decisions? So are you going to do it by consensus, majority rules, tiebreakers? And what if you really disagree? So how are you going to evaluate work? How will we give feedback to each other? How do we hold each other accountable? What, again, counts as late? This is a biggie. What's the process for extensions? Who's going to ask the professor if something happens? What happens if someone gets sick? How will we handle conflict? And again, there's small conflict and there's big conflict. And again, what if someone's late? What if someone's work is not up to par? How will this be brought up? Will there be a meeting? So remember, it's not meant to just be a piece of paper. It's no good if you just copy and paste something you found somewhere else if no one is actually committed to what's written down. And it doesn't even have to be all that long. The key is for you all to talk things through with your team before anything becomes an issue, and to talk as things become an issue. So continual conversation and communication, as a lot of you mentioned during our first meeting. So as a due date, I do intend to check in on a working version of your team contract probably around week 4, and that's what's tentatively on the syllabus. But the idea is I'm not trying to, I want to just check in as a continued communication process. And so again, keep in mind, team contract is a living document. It's the planning and talking that is most important. And so you should feel free to revisit and update the contract as needed among your team. And I'll likely have, a later question or assignment that asks you about this process. So don't just grab and copy and paste something and do this. I really would encourage you to, however you want to communicate with your teammates, talk it through and see what it is and how you want to be the best team you can be so that you can do projects and deliverables that are satisfactory to you. So with that, this is your team contract process. And again, its purpose is to make sure you have a functioning team and also to get better at defining roles, assignments, and norms, which is very important, especially working with teams where how things are done is never taken and should never be taken for granted. So hope you're all having a good day or evening so far. Take care, and any ideas, feel free to post them up on our board or bring them up in class or bring them up to me, and have a good day or evening or whatever have you so far. Take care.